All right, we are about to pick manga number 4 for our mini 12 and 12. And you know what? I don't know. I don't even know what I'm feeling. I don't know what I'm feeling. I don't know what I'm up for. I think I'm up for anything. So let's go. I'm ready for the wheel. Ooh, okay. I was excited about this one when I picked it up at the store. I was really excited. Mob Psycho 100. All right. Mob Psycho 100 for April. Here we go. Okay, let's talk about Mob Psycho 100. This one had my least favorite art style out of the ones that I've read so far, and I don't think I'm going to be continuing this series. Sorry. Mob Psycho 100 follows this 8th grader named Mob, and he's not called Mob because he's like in a gang or he's part of a mob or he creates issues. It's just because he blends into the crowd really well. From the time that he was younger, he already had powers. He knew he had powers and was not really super popular with a bunch of people. And when he tried to show his powers to people, I guess they already thought he was weird. And so he was like, oh, well, they already think I'm weird. And they kind of think my powers are weird. So I'm just going to not show them my powers. And he's a very stoic person. He keeps his emotions under control because that's a big thing with his powers is if he lets his emotions get too out of control and too big, especially his anger, we find that out in the end. If his anger especially gets out of control, that's what really tips things over and gets things to level 100. But this guy who runs basically like his own Ghostbusters type business, his name is Reagan, and he's a fraud. He's like, oh yeah, I can get rid of any ghosts, any spirits, but he can't do that. He has no powers. He has hired Mob, who actually has the powers, to be his apprentice. So Mob is the apprentice to the fraud, and the fraud has all these like goofy little side quests going on throughout the book while we kind of follow Mob through just kind of some day-to-day life things. At one point, Mob gets pulled into a cult. It's kind of strange because the first half of the book was a little slow for me. We were just kind of following him day to day. I wasn't really connecting with any of the characters, I'm going to be honest. I'm not connecting with them. I'm not really interested in what's going on with Mob's life. In the first half of the book, it almost felt like a slice of life, kind of like a coming of age story, because Mob wants to fit in with his peers, but he can't let his emotions get out of control, because if he doesn't keep a really tight grip on his emotions, then his powers get out of control, and he knows that. I'm not sure how he knows that. I don't know if maybe something has happened in the past or like little things have happened in the past. And so he learned, okay, I've got to keep a tight grip on my emotions. Otherwise things get really bad. However, in the second half of the book, things picked up a little bit. As you can see, Mob's not really smiling. He looks very serious for an 8th grader. And that's just kind of how he looks throughout the entire book, actually. This rando on the street pulls him aside, and first of all, he's like telling him to smile, or the person's telling him to smile. Don't do that. Don't tell people to smile. That's rude. This is why you should listen to stranger danger, because the person's like, you want to come with me? You'll be happy. And like, people love happy people, because there's a girl that Mob's crushing on, and they're like, oh, are you having trouble? Like, they're just guessing of like, you're having trouble with your schoolwork. And he's like, nah. Oh, you're having trouble with family life. And he's like, no. Oh, you're having trouble with your love life. And he's like, oh, well, yeah. And they're like, oh, well, people love happy people. You should come with me. And so Mob just goes with this random person. And they end up in like a big underground area of a building. It turns out it's a cult. And there's an evil spirit who's trying to take over. They've brainwashed a whole bunch of people. Mob and 2 other people, a journalist from Mob School who is there. And I think they just kind of walked in. I don't know how this journalist kid, it's a journalist for the school paper. I don't know how they found out about this cult, but they found out about it and they were like, I'm going to get the scoop and then I'm going to write all about it. So they just they went in willingly. And then some other random adult man. So Mob has a showdown with the cult spirit leader, and it got a little tense. It was a little tense there. I wasn't sure if Mob was going to get out of it. Mob wins, but the spirit comes back because the spirit he was like a human, or he had a human form. But then after Mob wins, he took like a spirit form. He was kind of like a ghost spirit. I'm still a little confused on how all the spirits work, that kind of situation. I'm not an expert, okay? But at least I'm not a fraud like Reagan. At the end of this book, we get a little snippet, a little scene, if you will, of another kid at another 8th grade school. They're kind of like in a little mini gang, and they're beating up another group of kids. But the kid at the other school has powers similar to Mob, and he's just outwardly showing these powers, because while people at the school know that Mob has powers and that Mob's a little bit weird, Mob doesn't show his powers off. So it seems that there may be more people out there who have powers similar to Mob, and maybe that's something that at least the next volume and the volumes after this, they'll address that. Maybe Mob and this other kid, maybe they go head to head because it's 2 different schools. I don't think I'll be continuing this series. I wasn't a huge fan of the art style. It's a very unique art style. It just wasn't my preference. The beginning of this book was pretty slow for me anyway. It does give slice of life along with like paranormal and supernatural. And I know they have to introduce the characters and build up to what's going to happen. I did enjoy the second half of the manga a lot more than the first half. The whole scene with the cult and the showdown between Mob and the cult leader, and the cult leader's name was Lord Dimple, like dimple on your face. It's very unique. It's different. I liked the idea and the premise, but it just didn't play out for me the way I thought it would. So I don't think this is going to be a series that I'm going to continue. I will be donating this one to my library. It was fine. I just don't think it was what I expected it to be. Unfortunately, not my favorite. That's okay. It's a neat idea though, because you do see let's see if I can find it. It was interesting throughout the manga that they would have these little notes, not at the end of every single chapter, or it was at the end of a lot of them, but these little progress towards Mob's explosion. It would just get closer and closer until he's about to hit 100. And I wasn't sure what would happen when he actually did finally hit 100%. I was like, so does he explode? Like, does he himself, like, what happens? You know, he does explode. So he does allow his, energy, powers. I'm not really sure how to describe it. He'll lets go, allows it to explode so he can win the fight against the cult leader. But then it just kind of starts over from zero, which is interesting. So it's kind of like a reset, I guess. So it seems like his power is kind of like clockwork. And it just resets, like once he hits 100, it resets to 0, and then it starts ticking back up again. That's Mob Psycho 100. I will be donating this copy to my local library. Let me know if you've read this one. Let me know your thoughts on it. It wasn't for me. I'm glad I tried it. I do think the idea was really interesting. The art style is very unique. And I think the little fight with the cult leader, it was pretty funny. I don't think this was for me. I do think it had its moments and it was interesting. And I think had I gone into this knowing it was at least more slice of life, like it had that aspect in it, I think I would have come at it from a different angle, but I didn't know that. I think I was just expecting this to be like, this kid was gonna be fighting ghosts, fighting spirits, like fighting a whole bunch of different monsters or something, because that's kind of what it sounded like. It, obviously on the summary, it says his boss is a fraud, but Mob isn't. And so I was like, oh, okay. His boss is trying to run a Ghostbusters business and he's a fraud, but he's hired this kid who's not a fraud. And they're going to go on these little adventures and they're going to be fighting ghosts and spirits. But it also has slice of life, and I wasn't expecting that. And I don't mind slice of life. I enjoy that. But that's not what I was expecting in this book. And I think maybe that's what threw me off. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite. So I don't think I'll be continuing with this series. But let me know down below if you've read this one before. Let me know what you thought of it. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.